there's so much garbage on the internet, right? And what is it that makes you stop your scroll? It's content that you resonate with, either because you're like, man, I love what that person had to say, or oh, that's so relatable. You're resonating with the person. And if you're creating content that's just, I mean, I use Canva. I love Canva, but the last thing we need is another generic, you know, happy Labor Day graphic
Yeah.
post. That's the last thing we need. Nobody cares. And so how can we create content that's going to build that connection? And it's by showing up intentionally with every single post. Okay, who's this post for? What's my end game from for posting this? Like why should they care about what I have to say? And so with every single post that you're putting out there, it's not made to go viral. It's built to connect with the person that needs to see your message.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, your go to guide to solving your biggest marketing agency challenges authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode is an honest and frank look at what agencies go through, from turning clients to tackling tech and ideas that you can apply to your own business. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, where each and every week we're talking to marketing agencies like you, going through many of the same struggles you're going through and sharing their stories. Subscribe to find in each episode the inspiration, the motivation, and the perspiration that go into growing and scaling agencies like yours. Now, is your agency drowning in content creation? You're not alone. Across the marketing landscape, agencies are caught in this exhausting cycle of churning out endless social media posts for their clients, believing that more content equals better results. But what if everything we've been taught about social media frequency is wrong? What if you could actually deliver better results for your clients while creating less content? What if you could transform your agency's approach to social media management, increase client satisfaction, and reduce team burnout all at the same time? Well, that's exactly what our guest today has mastered. Keita Brinkley is a social media trailblazer with over 20 years of digital marketing expertise. As the founder of Next Step Social Communications, she's developed a revolutionary approach that's changing how agencies think about social media management. Her awareness to action for post social media strategy has helped countless businesses achieve better results with less effort. Kitty's also a dynamic speaker, podcast host, and author who's known for her charismatic approach and energy and practical results driven mindset. Hey, Katie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I need to think of a better intro that doesn't make me sound like I'm ancient of the 20 years of
Oh,
being in social media. I'm sure a lot of people are like, has social media really been around 20 years? But yippee, it has.
right. I know, right? Yeah, I tend to not say 20 years. I say over a decade.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh,
Which isn't still young sounding, but maybe it's a little bit of a balance between not too young, not too old, even though it have to, if I was being honest, it would be multiple decades.
yeah,
So
I
yeah, we'll have to work on that.
it's crazy because I think it always makes me stop and think whenever people do say that intro, and I'm like, "Man, how aware were we 20 years ago when we were building out our top 8 on MySpace that social media 1 could be a job, 2 you can employ a
Right?
lot of people to for this job, and then 3 that it would be such an important part of our lives and our businesses. I mean, man, Tom, back in the day, he just wanted us to, make music and share music, and, he took his $500 million or whatever and let our data just sit there, and man, those were the good old days, right?
Yeah, I was at Ohio State when the internet kind of came to be with America Online and
Yeah.
CompuServe, and I definitely had no idea back then how big it would be or that I'd be so involved in digital marketing and the internet. So yeah,
Well,
it's been a while.
and I'm not trying to take us too far down the rabbit hole of memory lane here, but I mean, if you think about it, with what you were experiencing at Ohio State, and then, it's the internet and the internet boom, then what I was going through when I was in college of the social media boom, and now here we are 20 years later going through the AI boom. And I really think that these are all very important parts of the digital, how the digital landscape. Man, ChatGPT ruining,
I know,
my
right?
own vocabulary. But I mean, it's just insane to think about how much has changed over a very short period of time. I remember typing DOS code in to play Lemmings, but here we are, having to wait, 5 seconds for ChatGPT to tell me the entire history of elephants, is too long.
But no, to your point, you're right. There's been this transition. We lived through the third industrial revolution, the digital revolution, but that still took decades, from the dawn of the internet to social media and cell phones and that sort of thing. And now we're here in the fourth industrial revolution
Yeah.
with AI changing by the hour.
Well,
Just this week
exactly.
alone has been insane. So it's a lot.
I think that, this is kind of where, as someone that works in social media, AI's made it to where, well, now we have even more content that we can push
Yeah.
out there. And I don't, like you were saying in my intro, I don't think that that is the answer, because if we're having AI write and create all of our content, I mean, there's AI bots out there that will respond to comments and will do engagement for you. I mean, then it's just going to be robots talking to robots, and we've completely lost the mission of social media, which is to build connection and build community. And so I think right now it's very important to learn how to use these AI tools, but use them for the greater good so that you can foster those connections. And who knows what the next iteration of the internet is? Like, it might all be, blockchain and Web3, who knows? But if we're going into this new world, how can we create content that's going to build those connections online? And I think that it's by being ourselves, being authentic.
Well, that's a great segue into what we're going to talk about today because, to your point, with artificial intelligence, with ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, you can create content quickly
Mhm.
and easily. And when people are looking at the literal flood of content that's being pushed out there, podcasts, videos, blog posts, social media posts, and so on, some businesses would see that, some marketers would see that and say, oh, okay, the answer is more.
Yeah.
I should use Claude and pump out 5 posts a day instead of 2 posts a day or 3 posts a week. Why is that the wrong approach in your mind? Why did you develop this kind of less is more philosophy to social media?
Well, as being, it sounds crazy because I'm a social media agency owner, but there's so much garbage on the internet, right? And what is it that makes you stop your scroll? It's content that you resonate with, either because you're like, man, I love what that person had to say, or, oh, that's so relatable. You're resonating with the person. And if you're creating content that's just, I mean, I use Canva. I love Canva. But the last thing we need is another generic, you know, happy Labor Day, graphic
Yeah.
post. And that's the last thing we need. Nobody cares. And so how can we create content that's going to build that connection? And it's by showing up intentionally with every single post. Okay, who's this post for? What's my end game for posting this? Like, why should they care about what I have to say? And so with every single post that you're putting out there, it's not made to go viral. It's built to connect with the person that needs to see your message. And so, like I said, as a social media agency, I know it sounds crazy, but I don't think you need to post so much. And if you post more intentionally and with uh, better content, you're going to get better results, and you're going to build a community of your biggest fans.
Love that. And it's interesting because there are certainly ways that we can leverage AI
Hmm.
to still be authentic. I mean, to your point, you could go to Canva and use a template and create the same kind of a post that everybody else does, or you could use AI to create something unique. We're recording this. We just had Lunar New Year for
Yeah.
our Asian friends, and my in-laws are from Hong Kong, so we are really big into celebrating Lunar New Year. So I used AI to create a Year of the Snake graphic
Cool.
right? And then I use Canva to add Gong Hei Fat Choi, which is Cantonese for wealth and prosperity, from the Alton family with respect. I put that text on there, but that was a very unique graphic. And a lot of people did Google searches for Chinese New Year graphics and
Mhm.
used those graphics. I saw them all over the place, but there's ways to make it unique and authentic. And I'm wondering then how you approach that with your clients. I talked at the outset that you've got this four post framework that you work on. And I'd love if you could walk us through what that looks like in practice for a business perspective.
Yeah.
How are we posting? How often are we posting? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so this is the great thing about the framework, the awareness to action framework is that you can post if you're crazy, if you want to post 4 times a day, you can. I mean, if you want to post 4 times a month, you can. This framework works and so some of the clients that we've had have seen 250% increase in engagement. One of our clients saw an 1100% increase in impressions, all just from building their content around this framework. So essentially, the awareness to action strategy is taking less and focusing in for that audience on that platform. So, for example, Mike, I know that you kill it over on LinkedIn. So, would you say that LinkedIn is your kind of your go-to for social media? I know you're also really active
100%.
on Facebook,
Absolutely.
but yeah, okay. So,
Yeah.
so on LinkedIn, there's a it's a very different culture over on LinkedIn than it is on TikTok, which is different than
Hmm.
Facebook. And I think that a lot of us are like, "Ah, we can just copy and paste." But what if you just tailored your message a little bit differently for each platform by knowing who it is that you're talking to? So on LinkedIn, for example, let's say you want to take your social media posts and you have the end goal of getting people to sign up for a membership, or let's say you have an end goal of people signing up for your product, whatever it is. Your end goal is something about sales. How are you going to get the right people to raise their hand from social media without you saying, like, new offer or please buy from me? And it's by reverse engineering what the end goal is to the right audience person. So we'll just say membership sales, just to make things easy. I want people to sign up for my membership. And how am I going to get them to do that? Well, I have to make people problem aware. What people am I trying to get in front of? So you have to tailor your message specifically for that audience person. The awareness post on LinkedIn, super simple. LinkedIn polls right now are killing it as far
Mm.
as engagement, as far as reach. Remember, these awareness posts are designed to get the right people aware of the problem and to reach as many people as possible. So, LinkedIn polls are great. Instagram reels are great. Facebook, those like bold sentences on different colored backgrounds, those work really well. Those get a lot of reach. So it doesn't need to be overly complicated. You don't need to worry about going live or doing a series of videos. If that's your thing, cool. But this is designed so that you can get in, make people problem aware, get them raising their hands, and get out. So that's the awareness post. And then the next post is the elaboration post. So now that you've had the right people engaging with your content and commenting, liking, whatever, the next post is that elaboration. So on LinkedIn, it could be a LinkedIn newsletter or article where you can explain in further detail this problem. You've been struggling to master AI, and wouldn't it be nice if there was a solution to it? I know that XYZ is happening. These are some of my favorite tools. These are some of my favorite prompts. And you can really position yourself as that thought leader in the elaboration article or elaboration post. Um, LinkedIn, again, if you're not doing LinkedIn newsletters, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Highly recommend doing LinkedIn newsletters for the elaboration post. On Facebook, you can grab a picture of you and have a long caption. I like to go live on Facebook. Um, Not that many people do it anymore, so it works pretty well just to get some additional face time and build that connection. And then over on Instagram, again, maybe it's a carousel post where you have 10 different slides explaining the problem. And again, really showing yourself as that thought leader. The third post is going to be your favorite post for the entire week or month, because it's where you get to bring you into the social media. So if you think about it, we made people problem aware. We educated them and gave value first. We taught them something in that elaboration post. And then the third post is a community post. How did you overcome this problem? How did you help a client solve this problem? You've been where your, a customer has been before. Look at there, you're relatable. You never know what it is that's going to resonate with someone. So, for example, I could say maybe my community post is how using this one prompt saved me 5 hours every week. And I could say, have a picture of me and my daughter there and say, like, oh, I was super tired at the end of every Thursday, and I really wanted to be my daughter's softball coach. And I found that I was still spending so much time doing podcast show notes. And I figured out this one prompt, and it saved me 5 hours every week. Now I jet out of the office on Thursdays at noon, go home, have a Starbucks, recoup, and then I'm my daughter's softball coach. I shared how I overcame that problem, put myself in their shoes, and then I also opened up a little bit about me. Oh, Katie has a daughter. She plays softball. That's cool that she's the coach. I allowed my audience to connect with me. And if you notice, that's 3 posts for the week. We never asked anybody to sign up for a membership, to buy from us, to do anything. It was all content to build connection with the right audience. And then obviously the last post is the action post, asking people to leave social media to go one step further with you and buy from you. So there's a podcast episode all about this. I'm opening up 4 more spots in my membership. Grab one now. If you're interested, comment membership below or whatever. But this is where you can ask people to leave social media. And again, this is the time where you can not worry about like, oh, I only had 4 people comment. Well, you had 4 of the right people comment. You had the right people that said, I'm interested in your offer. I'm interested to go one step further with you. I'm willing to leave social media and hear more about what it is that you have to say. So that's the awareness to action strategy. It's very intentional, and honestly, the elaboration post is the most time consuming, but it really, you can have a very successful social media strategy using this strategy, and it'll take you maybe an hour a week.
Love it. So we're talking awareness, elaborate, community, and action. I've seen lots of frameworks and philosophies when it comes to social media posting. I like that there's a lot of nuance here, like the community post, right? It allows you to relate better with your audience and vice versa. Shows off yourself a little bit. Even the elaborate post, you kind of mention this in there, but the suggestion was use a selfie as
Yeah.
the image associated with that post, which we know performs really, really well
Yep.
on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I love this framework. Now, earlier you did say that you can post 4 times a day or once a month as
Yep.
long as you're following this framework. Have you found though that there is a sweet spot in terms of frequency?
So for me and my audience, which is different, like everyone has a different
Great
audience.
caveat.
Um,
Absolutely. Test this for yourselves, folks.
yes, test this for yourself because I mean, full transparency, like one of our clients, we do 5 posts a week, but we still do this framework with 5 posts a week. And for me, I do 3 posts a week. So I post on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's the same cycle, and then back on to Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So figure out, it's really looking at the data. Okay, so for me, again, my data shows me that Mondays are a great day for the awareness post. I know around what time I need to. I mean, the Quora post. You get a lot of information from
Oh,
out there, and so use it. Look to see when your audience is on. And it's like, okay, my audience is on. The number one day is Wednesday for me. My number one day is Wednesday, so I want to make sure that I have my best content going out on Wednesday. But how shouldn't I put my awareness posts on Wednesday? No, because remember, we're trying to get
yeah.
seen by new people. So my second best day is Monday. That's when I have my awareness posts go out so I can get that traction with the right people so that on Wednesday, when I send my content out, it's being seen by the most people as possible and those new people that have come in and engaged with my post.
That makes complete sense, and I love that you mentioned Agorapulse because you're right. We've got data in the reports that every agency or customer using Agorapulse can see what
Mhm.
their best times to post are, when they're historically have received the most engagement or click throughs and
Yeah.
so on. But the point there is it's based on your personal historical data. So you have to have that posting frequency. You have to test different days and different times of days so that the data will then reflect, okay, based on the last 6 months, turns out Friday afternoons are the best or Sunday
Yeah.
mornings. Now, we will have a feature coming very soon that will use AI and aggregated data
Oh,
to give
cool.
you recommendations on without any historical data, or maybe despite your historical data. You might want to try Thursday early evenings
Mhm.
because that looks like when your audience might actually be most receptive to your kind of content. And then the other thing I wanted to share, um, even folks who've been using Agorapulse for years don't know that this is a feature. We have an option if you go into the library, in the content library section within Agorapulse. It's one of the buttons on the left hand side. There is a category queue option. So you can set up buckets for different kinds of content and have different time slots for each one. So, step one, you go into your reports, you find out when your best times to post are. And like you were saying, Katie, pick your best time for a certain kind of post, maybe second or third best time for your awareness and so on. And then you can create a bucket for each one of these, a bucket for awareness, elaborate, community, and action, and have a specific time slot per day or per week for each one of those. And then you can create the content in bulk and you just add it to those queues. And the next time each one of those time slots comes out, boom, it'll post that content for you.
Yeah.
So, folks, check that feature out. I'm wondering though, real quick, if you've had clients you've worked with in the past where you're telling this approach and it's contrary to everything that they've known or read in terms of social media, and they
Yeah.
start pushing back on you, they want to post more frequently. How do you work with them? How do you address that?
Well, I've learned that I those aren't my clients. So it because and that's one of
Yeah.
the things I talk about is like we have a very different approach to social media. We're not going to post a ton. Everything that we do is very intentional. It's designed to have your what it is that you need. We're not going to be on all the social media apps. We're not going to do this. But what we are going to do is build an audience of the right people that when you say, "Hey, I decided to write a book," they say, "Well, I wanna buy it," or, "Hey, I'm launching a membership." You already have this network built in that you don't even need to worry about doing ads for or anything like that. So, like I said, I've ended contracts because we aren't a fit for everybody. And that was something that was kind of a hard learn. It took me longer to learn that than I'd like to admit. But once I learned that not every client is a fit, and that there's a lot of people out there that do believe in this intentional posting and have seen the results that it gets, those are my people. And so I'm sorry, I wish that I could give you a better answer for that, but it's definitely a kind of a screening of, am I a fit for you? Are you a fit for me when we have our onboarding calls?
That's actually a great answer because it's a solid reminder to everybody listening, myself included, that sometimes we aren't a great fit with certain clients, whether it's, our approach to social media or our approach to paid advertising or our approach to messaging and branding. We all need to have certain values and philosophies and frameworks that we follow. And clients who don't want to follow those, well,
Yeah.
more power to them, but we don't have to work with them. Folks, we're talking with Katie Brinkley about a counterintuitive approach to social media marketing that can reduce overhead and improve client performance and satisfaction if they're willing. Now, in order to measure that success, though, you need a fantastic reporting tool.
I actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agorapulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So I had kind of suggested a moment ago how this is going to benefit agencies, but I'd love your take on how having this kind of framework and this approach to social media has helped your agency and how you think it might in turn help other agencies if they implement it.
I think that if this isn't an approach for every business. So if you are an agency that's looking to work with clients that want to build a community, this is a perfect approach. Or if you are working with podcasters, authors, YouTubers, anyone that is building a personal brand, this approach knocks it out of the park. It really helps build a community around you. I think that for like SaaS companies or for e-commerce, anything like that, it is going to be different. It's going to be difficult to do this approach. But with the awareness to action strategy, it is designed to, again, build the right audience coming in that says, I can't wait to see what Mike says next. It's been a while since Mike has posted. Where is he? What's he been up to? Like, I haven't seen anything. You're building an audience that can't wait to see your content in the feed so that when you go to events, you go on podcasts, you do anything, you have your own little mini fan base that's willing to stand up and support you and shout about your business to the rooftops and tell all their friends about you.
I'm so glad you brought up e-commerce and how things could be a little bit different for industries like that. Because some of you might know we have a whole nother podcast just for retail. So I'm talking to retailers and e-commerce brands all the time. And I absolutely was thinking in the back of my mind, I wonder how they would do this. And the answer is really, they probably wouldn't. Their approach is a little bit different, which makes complete sense. One of the things I'm wondering though is we're often talking with brands about the importance of like tracking every link, putting UTM parameters and that sort of thing so that you can actually get measurable results. But if we're following this approach, that means only 25% of our posts roughly would have any kind of trackable link. So how are you measuring the impact like on the actual business of this kind of a framework?
Yeah, and it's by talking to your audience. The biggest thing with this framework, like you said, UTM links, that's huge.
Mhm.
We've done a lot of A/B testing with where links should go in the captions or if it should go in the comments. Like, so we test a lot of that, and it is different for every client as to where links should go. I know that was not your question, but I think that the biggest thing that you have to walk away with is it's not you have to look at the data for all of this. And if you're looking at your data and you're looking at UTM links and you're looking at podcast downloads and you're looking at people that show up for your in-person event and you're looking to see like, hey, actually now I've recorded this amount of podcast episodes and I know whom actually on social media is listening to my podcast because they comment all the time. And this is the measurable data that you can really take back to your bosses and to your team and say like, well, look, I know that this was our goal, and sure enough, we filled out that webinar. And if we're looking just at clicks, yeah, okay, we can see 1,500 people clicked on it, and then this amount of people converted. But let's see really how many of those people would want to come back again. How many are on your email list? How many are engaging every single time that you post on social media. So there's I feel like I'm just like pitching Agorapulse in this, but these tools
That's okay.
are
We
there.
don't mind.
Yeah, these tools are there, and they give you the data, and it's extremely important to look at the data because there's so much more other than just likes. There's so much more other than followers, and if you're that's the only data that you're tracking, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to really understand who your biggest fans are.
That really is a huge point, and it's something that we take very seriously at Agorapulse. So we're constantly building in features and options to support that kind of thing. Like we talked about UTM links. Well, you can include a UTM link in a scheduled post, or you could also schedule it to go out in the first comment on, like, say, LinkedIn or Facebook. If you know because you've tested it or you've been advised by someone fantastic like Katie that that's the best way to share the link on LinkedIn. Or you can do things like have people leave a comment if they want to learn more, and then you reply to those comments or even send them direct messages with the link. All of them are going to be tracked with the Agorapulse. All of them are going to automatically have UTM parameters attached to them, which are the little tags that go on that tell your reporting system this is the platform, this is the social network, and we even add a hidden tag that identifies the actual link individually that's being shared so that you know it's that reply to John on that post at this time that Mike shared. And now you get trackable results where that ties into Google Analytics, and we bring that back in. So we can see then what happens. Did somebody buy? Did somebody sign up? And actually count that revenue. So I love that you brought that up because it is so important, particularly if you're not just spamming links all the time.
Yeah.
You're really counting on that, 1 out of 4 posts to drive results. So you want to make sure it's all tracked. What are some other resources that you might recommend for agencies, podcasts, books, events, whatever's top of mind, that would help them learn more about strategic social media management? Some of the folks listening, I got to be transparent, aren't doing social media management today. Some of the folks who listen to these shows, maybe they're paid, ad agencies or they're SEO agencies, and they might want to add social media to their repertoire, but it's not something they've done before. Where would you direct them?
Yeah, well, I think that one of the biggest things to do, other than listen to this podcast, is really look at your social media at through a microscope because you can learn so much about your audience when you look at the data. There's so much more to social media other than just pretty graphics and you know going viral. And this is when you look at it through that lens, you're going to see ways to grow your business that you really didn't even think of as possible. So look at the data. That's the very first piece of advice I would give. The second piece of advice, I absolutely love the event CEX. It's in Cleveland this year, and it's in August. This will be the fourth time I've gone to it, and I'm actually speaking this year. But it's an incredible event where you can learn all about different strategies, how to grow as a creator, and have your business really flourish as a creator in this digital world. So that's CEX. And then I have a podcast. You should listen to mine if you like this one. Mike was on my show once, and it's called Rocky Mountain Marketing. But if you want to learn more about the 4-post strategy, I did write a book all about it too. So
Love it. We will have links to your book, to the podcast, to CEX, where I'm speaking this year as
yeah,
well. So I can't wait to see you there and join you on stage for CEX. And if you can't make it to Cleveland in August, I'll also put a link down below to a reference sheet. Now it's dated as 2024, but this sheet has almost all the digital marketing conferences around the world. So the dates will be wrong, but you can look through there and you can find a marketing event that's close to you, and just go to their website and see, okay, when is their 2025 date compared to 2024. That's an amazing approach, going to an event, networking, talking to fellow agency owners, sitting in on some sessions, and picking up some new tactics and techniques. I could not come up with a better way for folks to learn. But Katie, you've been fantastic. And obviously another way people can learn is by simply following you and connecting with you. Where would you send them?
yeah. So I'm on social media. LinkedIn's my favorite platform, and LinkedIn, or you can connect with me over on Facebook, Instagram. But LinkedIn is where I spend the majority of my time.
Brilliant. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, all of you, for listening. We'll have all of the links that we've talked about today in the show notes. As always, don't forget to find, though, the Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition on Apple and drop us a review. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thank you for listening to another episode of Social Pulse Podcast Agency Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, the #1 rated social media management solution, which you can learn more about at agorapulse.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and be sure to leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us.